My name is Robert Haggerty. I'm going to be doing a presentation today for Coca-Cola. My presentation is titled Coca-Cola Researching for Improvement. Next slide here. Key topics today. I will be introducing my research purpose. I will be going over some financial background that relates to the research here. A survey was given for this presentation to 20 participants. I'll go over the analysis and the findings of that survey and financial background. Near the end of it, I will go over some conclusions and recommendations for the Coca-Cola Company to further their business and maintain their competitive advantage. First off, the research purpose in this research was to locate declining revenue. Expanding on that, revenue isn't the only thing that's important in companies. Profit and income, as well as revenue, are all intertwined and play a major part whether a company is productive or competitive or even profitable in the long run or short term. So my main goal was to first prove that there was declining revenue in Coca-Cola. Need to create some hypotheses and key factors to whether or not there was a decline. So if there was, finding those factors and discussing them and analyzing them to find possible conclusions or possible correlations that would lead to the declining in revenues. First off, I had to do some research on the financial background of Coca-Cola. Felt this was important because it showed where the company was at and where it was headed. I researched profit, revenue, and net income, as previously stated, because they deal with the company's competitive advantage, where the company's going, how profitable, how well they're doing, if they're in an upward trend or a downward trend. It's all very important for any company, big or small, to know those numbers and to know where those trends are heading. I also incorporated the average levels of each of one of those three categories. This is important because once you find the trend and you find the average level, you can kind of project the future periods either towards that average level if they've fallen below, or try to maintain them above the average levels. This is important going forward for further periods, as you can kind of see where the baseline of the company has been for the last 2, 4, 6, or maybe even 10 years, or even decades, to follow that trend and try to keep that trend and keep that average level increasing over time to try to keep your competitive advantage higher, to keep your profits higher over time, to continuously be major competitors in whatever industry you're in, such as Coca-Cola, which is the soft drink industry. These graphs were created from data collected from Bloomberg.com for Coca-Cola. We can see that the net income, total revenues, and profits graphs were created. We can see starting in 2011 through 2014 the data that was collected. We see that starting out on the left-hand side of each graph, it was roughly where the average was, and then it saw a steep incline to a positive trend in 2012, but since then it's had a negative or downward shift in the trending. So the net income, the total revenue, and the total profits have all been in a downward trend for the last 2 to 3 years, and currently the information is suggesting that it will continue to go down if steps aren't put in place to reverse this and to increase it towards the average, which is the red line or the mean in each one of these graphs. So the survey breakdown. 20 questions were given on a survey. The questions revolved around demographic data, the perceived brand value of the participants, and the brand loyalty that some of these consumers felt for Coca-Cola, as well as possibly the competitors. this information is important because the demographic data kind of gives us who we interviewed, their average age, average income, their genders. The perceived brand value is important because it's how the customer perceives the company. The loyalty is important because loyal customers are repeat customers, and repeat customers are maintaining sales, repeat sales, which is important for any company to continue positive trends into the future periods. The survey participants, with a sample size of 20 participants, 11 of them were men and 9 of them were women. The goal of this survey, to get the information on the trends and the brand value, I felt that trying to get an equal number of men and women could help reduce the bias of the survey results. If you had all men, then these survey results would be skewed towards the perception of the men drinking it, where if you get a similar ratio to men and women, then I felt the results would be a more even or more unbiased for the entire survey. Going into the survey, I implemented 2 hypotheses before the survey was given. The first one was that brand loyalty does have a positive correlation with purchasing habits. The more loyal customers you have, the more positive purchasing habits you'll have, the more repeat customers you have, which will also correlate to repeat sales. The second one was that taste contributes to purchase, not just price. Basically stating that consumers are loyal to a taste they recognize, to a taste they feel, their personality, goes with, and that customers will not always go for the lowest price or the highest priced item. Taste needs to be maintained. Consumers need to like what they're drinking. They need to, think in their mind, I could really go for a Coca-Cola right now, and no matter what the price, that's what they want. They want the taste of that brand. So through the analysis, after all the data was collected from the surveys, an average range of 33 to 40 years old were the participants. The average income was $30,000 to $45,000 a year. This was important because I felt that it was kind of showed that the average age range was a person who was a little older, who had a more stable income, which is slightly higher income with a little more disposable income, which was important because a lot of the soft drinks and snacks are bought by consumers with the little extra income. They can afford to buy an extra soda here or extra snack a day. Found the average person in the survey participants 3 to 5 soft drinks per week average. This equates to, and the average price range, the best price range customers feel is the best value for their bottle is $1 to $1.50 a bottle, which is slightly lower than the average cost now, but it's still within a decent range. So if you take the 20 consumers who were the participants in the survey, that equates to roughly $60 to $140 a week for these 20 consumers. This may seem like a small amount of sales. However, if you increase the sample size, increase the population to the millions of people that buy Coca-Cola or even the competitors' products every day, this is important because if you show that these 20 consumers, if one of them stops buying a bottle 1 week, that won't make a big difference. But when you have, let's say, a big buying shift, let's say PepsiCo drops their price, and some of the consumers who are on the middle part, some like Coke, some like Pepsi, the lower price might shift the consumer buying trends to buy more Pepsi. So the higher number of people shifting will increase a higher number of lost sales for Coca-Cola. So Coca-Cola needs to maintain that $1.50 a bottle best price or remain competitive, if you will, to maintain or even increase their sales. Through my findings, found there were positive correlations between overall quality, brand value, and customers highly able to recommend the product. So these correlations are important because they kind of work with each other. The quality, the value, these are perceived by the customer, and when the consumer perceives these as high quality, high value, they're more likely to recommend these products to their friends, their families, which over time hopefully will gain a larger customer base which will hopefully increase sales, increase revenues over time. Another thing to note, though, is that higher price does not correspond with higher quality as found in the survey. So Coca-Cola could technically raise its price of the bottle to $3 a bottle. However, consumers would not correspond that with a higher quality product. So Coca-Cola needs to make sure we maintain a level price that is consistent with the quality that the customers are willing to pay for. And the last keynote in my findings was competitors' new flavors were more likely to entice consumers to try their products. So if PepsiCo came out with a new flavor, they would be more likely to try that new flavor than, for example, let's reword that. A Coca-Cola consumer would be more likely to buy a PepsiCo product with a new flavor, to try that new flavor out. But that was the major contributor to why some Coca-Cola consumers would switch to Pepsi-Cola, at least temporarily. So the conclusions of this is that downward trends were proven to exist in profits, income, and revenues, as shown in the graphs. Buying habits are important with loyalty and repeat customers. The more the customers repeat the purchase, the more sales maintain, and hopefully more consumers will be able to buy your product and increase those trends upward. And last note, taste influences loyalty, which also influences repeat sales, which goes on to the buying habits. Consumers like the taste, they like the product they're drinking. That increases repeat sales. So buying habits are important to maintaining sales levels, if not increasing them. Some main recommendations would be made. Maintain the top brand flavors. You need to survey and keep in mind the top selling brands are there because are consistently high because the consumers recognize with that flavor. They want that flavor. They go out, hot day, they want a Coca-Cola. It refreshes them. It's in their mind. The next key recommendation is to have competitive prices with PepsiCo. As previously stated, high price does not equate high quality perception in consumers. Maintain prices that are similar or equivalent to their competitors, even if they're slightly different. The small amount won't push customers either way. The brand loyalty and the taste preferences should keep loyal customers loyal and possibly bring new customers in if the new taste is what they want. So another key note to talk about is the new flavor. So even if PepsiCo creates new flavors, Coca-Cola possibly can do the same thing, create new flavors to take some of the competitors' consumers over to Coke to try the new flavors, maybe to try a Coca-Cola again, maybe to increase their customer base, which will increase their sales, which will increase their revenue. Another key recommendation that wasn't directly involved in the research, but the community involvement with the company. If Coca-Cola works in the community, volunteers in the community, grows that community involvement, the community should have a higher brand recognition with Coca-Cola and therefore possibly increase their customer base based on the fact that they recognize with Coca-Cola being involved, helping out in their community. And this is important because as the trends are currently going downward, we need to increase the trends back up at least to the average levels and continue to climb to get Coca-Cola back higher with sales, income, and revenue. It's all very important things to get Coca-Cola the top competitor in soft drink industry.